Welcome back to the Digital Asset Report. Crypto markets have been on edge this week as volatility returned. Ethereum, Solana, and Dogecoin have suffered heavy losses with liquidations topping $1.7 billion. More than 95% of wiped positions were longs, showing overexposed traders were caught in a cascade of margin calls. And meanwhile, gold surged nearly 2%, hitting over $3,700 per ounce. Analysts point to safe haven demand, federal rate cut expectations, and central bank buying as key drivers. And silver also rallied to a 14-year high, adding to the flight for hard assets. In Washington, lawmakers and crypto executives gathered for a Bitcoin reserves roundtable. Hosted by Senator Cynthia Lummis and Representative Nick Begich, the event focused on a proposal to create a federal Bitcoin strategic reserve. Strategy co-founder Michael Saylor and Mara Holdings CEO Fred Thiel were among the attendees, pushing for the U.S. to acquire up to 1 million Bitcoin over the next 5 years. And the Fed was also in focus this week. Policymakers cut short-term interest rates by 1/4 point, but long-term yields climbed, pushing mortgage and credit costs higher. Chair Jerome Powell opened his press conference by underscoring the Fed's balancing act between jobs and inflation. Powell noted that job gains have slowed, unemployment has edged higher, and inflation remains sticky.
At the same time, inflation has risen recently and remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 1/4 percentage point.
Powell said the rate cut reflects shifting risks to both sides of the Fed's dual mandate. And policy momentum is also building on other fronts. U.S. lawmakers are calling on the SEC to carry out President Trump's executive order that opens up the $12.5 trillion 401k retirement market to crypto. If implemented, the move would mark one of the largest mainstream entry points for digital assets to date. The U.S. and the U.K. are also joining forces on regulation. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves launched a new transatlantic task force for the markets of the future. The group will deliver recommendations within 6 months on digital assets and capital markets innovation. Industry leaders from Circle and Coinbase welcomed the effort, calling it a pivotal step towards harmonized rules that unlock deeper liquidity and safer markets. And back in markets, the SEC has approved new listing standards for crypto ETFs, setting the stage for a flood of products tied to digital assets. Funds tracking Bitcoin, Ether, Dogecoin, and Solana are already lining up, and the first multi-asset ETF, that's Grayscale's digital large cap fund, has already been cleared. Analysts say this is a major moment comparable to the boom that followed generic standards for traditional ETF years ago. And in other news, FTX creditors are set to receive another wave of repayments. The FTX Recovery Trust confirmed $1.6 billion will be distributed on September 30th. Payments will go through BitGo, Kraken, and Payoneer, with creditors recovering between 78 and 120% of the original balances. This marks the third phase of recovery since the exchange's collapse in 2022. And in company news, MetaMask is back in the spotlight after Consensus CEO Joe Lubin hinted that its long-awaited token may arrive sooner than expected. Prediction markets currently give modest odds of a launch before November, though regulatory uncertainty tied to the SEC's lawsuit against Consensus could affect timing. Still, traders are watching closely, with speculation around a possible airdrop heating up once again. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a like and a follow, and head over to bitgo.com to learn even more.